ComiXology presents the 33rd Annual Will Eisner Comic Industry Awards. Hello, everybody. I'm Phil LaMarr, and I want to welcome you to the 33rd Annual Eisner Awards. Now, in the past, of course, the awards were presented in a gala ceremony in a sumptuous hotel ballroom in beautiful downtown San Diego, with lots of celebrity presenters and most of the recipients usually on hand to give really heartfelt acceptance speeches. But because of a pandemic, that didn't happen last year, and it's not happening this year. But we are not going to let a worldwide disease stop us from celebrating the greatest talents in the comic book industry. So here we go again with the virtual Eisner Awards. But at least this time we have a little more experience under our belts. Although actually one of the upsides of having the ceremony online is that more than 16,000 people watched last year's video in the first 4 days. And the number's been grown to over 20,000 views since then. And another advantage is that while you're watching it, you can pause and take down notes for yourself about nominated books or creators that you want to check out. Pause and Google. See, there's always a benefit. And also, I guess to some people, the ceremony is shorter, so I guess that's kind of a benefit. All right. As much as we had hoped to be in person this year, we're not, but we're going to keep going. And to start things off, I would like to introduce the administrator of the Eisner Awards, who has now been in that position for 31 of these 33 years. Please, let's give a warm welcome to Jackie Estrada.
Thank you, Phil. I'm looking forward to seeing you portray the Green Lantern in this wacky new YouTube series you're involved in, Superhero Diaries. So welcome everybody to the second virtual Eisner Awards at the Comic-Con at Home. We're going to be presenting awards in 32 Eisner categories, plus the Hall of Fame and the Eisner Retailer Award and the Bob Clampett Humanitarian Award. Now, first, I want to give you a little background on how the awards are arrived at. In the past, before COVID, the usual process was publishers would send in submissions starting in January and running through the next few months. And then a panel of judges from all over the country would be getting these submissions and knowing what had been sent in. And I would have in San Diego all of the books. I could send the books out to the judges, but the big judging process occurred in San Diego at a 3-day intense judging weekend. And obviously we weren't able to do that the last 2 years. So last year was very challenging because the judges were in places like Philadelphia, Kansas, and Ontario, Canada, and Maine. And the judging ended up being packages going all over the place by mail, Zoom meetings, that sort of thing. So fortunately this year, what we did is the judges were all in Southern California, 4 of them here in San Diego. So they had easy access to all the submitted materials, and we were able to have in-person judging for them to select this year's nominees. The 6 judges this year are comics historian Jim Thompson, co-founder of the Comics Historian Group on Facebook, who lives in Los Angeles; Alonso Nunez, co-founder, executive director, and lead instructor for Little Fish Comic Book Studio in San Diego; longtime Comic-Con volunteer Shelley Fruchet, who serves on the CCI board of directors; retailer Marco Davanzo, owner of Alakazam Comics in Irvine, California; Pamela Jackson, the popular culture librarian at San Diego State University; and comics writer and artist Keithan Jones, who is the publisher of Kid Comics here in San Diego and founder of San Diego's Black Comics Day. This year's judges had a really tough time because of the quality of the material that came in. They had to narrow things down to 5 nominees in every category. And as you'll see during the presentation of the nominations, they couldn't quite do that in several categories. So there are 6 nominees in several of those categories. If you go to the Toucan blog on the Comic-Con website, you can see the judges' comments about the challenges of doing the judging this year. So what books and comics did the judges come up with as their nominees? Phil LaMarr will be right here in a moment to start telling you all the nominations and then announce the winners in every category. I know you'll want to make some notes for yourself about what things look interesting to you that you'd like to check out. So you can pause at any point and write that down and then continue watching the show. I encourage you to go to your local comic shop to look for comics, and you can also go online to visit ComiXology for digital versions of this year's nominees. Without further ado, take it away, Phil.
All right, thank you, Jackie. Now, let's give out some Eisner Awards. This year's nominees are actually truly international. We've got over 70 nominees from countries such as Spain, Italy, Japan, India, Russia, Sweden, England, Venezuela, Argentina, and even as far as Canada. Although the French creators have the most nominations with 19. All right, our first 5 categories are short story, single issue, anthology, and our 2 international categories. Let's get started. First group is short stories. Now, this category is for stories that appear within a larger publication, like an anthology or something, or for short stories that appear online. Actually, seems Chen Chao has 2 nominations in this category, so they're competing against themselves. Let's see how that goes. The nominees for Best Short Story are Garden Boys by Henry McCausland, I Needed the Discounts by Connor Williamson, Parts of Us by Chan Chao, Rookie by Greg Rucka and Eduardo Risso, Soft Lead by Chan Chao, and When the Menopausal Carnival Comes to Town by Mimi Pond. And the award goes to When the Menopausal Carnival Comes to Town. Congratulations, Mimi. Our next category is Best Single Issue / One Shot. And the nominees are The Burning Hotels by Thomas Lampion, Hedra by Jesse Lonergan, The Other History of the DC Universe #1 by John Ridley and Giuseppe Camuncoli, Sports is Hell by Ben Passmore, and Stanley's Ghost, A Halloween Adventure by Jeff Balke, Paul Story, and Dave Alvarez. And the award goes to Sports is Hell. Congratulations. Our next category is Best Anthology. And our nominees are X-Mag, edited by Ren McDonald, Guantanamo Voices, edited by Sarah Merck, Hey Amateur, edited by Shelley Bond, Los Angeles Times, edited by Sammy Harcum, Menopause, A Comic Treatment, edited by M.K. Sherwick, and Now, edited by Eric Reynolds. And the Eisner goes to Menopause, A Comic Treatment. Bravo. Next up are international categories. Just to note, that for both of these categories, the works must have been published in English and available in the United States during the 2020 year. First category is Best U.S. Edition of International Material. And the nominees are Altitude by Olivier Bocher and Jean-Marc Rochette. Gamayun Tales 1, an anthology of modern Russian folk tales by Alexander Utkin. Goblin Girl by Moa Romanova. Irina, Books 2 and 3 by Jean-David Morvan, Séverine Trefuel, and David Evrard. When You Look Up by Decour. And The Winter of the Cartoonist by Paco Roca. And the award goes to Goblin Girl. Congrats. Our next category is Best U.S. Edition of International Material, Asia. Nominees are I Had That Same Dream Again by Yoru Sumino and Idumi Kirihara. I Wish I Could Say Thank You by Yukari Takanami. A Journal of My Father by Jiro Taniguchi. Ping Pong by Teiyu Matsumoto. Ramina by Junji Ito, and Spy X Family by Tatsuya Endo. And the Eisner goes to Ramina. Our next group of categories are those for individual creators, writers, artists, pencilers, inkers, painters, cover artists. First up, Best Writer. And this category is for writers who did not draw their own stories. Doesn't mean they can't, just this time they didn't. And the nominees for Best Writer are Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, Jonathan Hickman, Jeff Lemire, James Tynion IV, and Chip Zdarsky. This year's Eisner for Best Writer goes to James Tynion IV. Congratulations, James. Our next category is Best Writer/Artist, also sometimes known as cartoonist. But we're going with writer/artist because here at the Eisners, we like slashes. All right, the nominees are Junji Ito, Pascal Jusselin, Trung Lee Nguyen, Craig Thompson, Adrian Tomine, and Jean Luen Yang. And the Eisner Award goes to Junji Ito. Now, our next award is for Best Penciler/Inker or Penciler-Inker Team. And the nominees are Michael Allred, Marco Cecchetto, Jorge Corona, Bertrand Gatignol, Mitch Gerrits, and Evan Doc Shaner, and Sanford Green. And the award goes to Michael Allred. Our next category, Best Painter/Multimedia Artist. See, we like them slashes. This category is for interior artwork, not cover art. All right, the nominees for Best Painter or Multimedia Artist are Benjamin Adam, Alice Chimama, Jared Cullum, Decour, Antonio Lapone, and Anand Arke and John Pearson. And the award goes to Anand Arke and John Pearson. Good for you. Year. And the nominees are Jamal Campbell, Simone DeMeo, Mike Huddleston, Dave Johnson, Peach Momoko, and Ramon K. Perez. And the award goes to Peach Momoko. Congrats. Our next award is for Best Coloring. What are comic books without colors? And the nominees are Laura Allred, Jean-Francois Beaulieu, GP, Marte Gracia, Dave Stewart, and Matt Wilson. And the award goes to Laura Allred. Congrats. All right, next, the Eisner Award for Best Lettering. Hey, I don't know about you, but these letterers are the reason I learned to read. All right, this year's nominees are Mike Allred, Darren Bennett, Aditya Bidikar, Clayton Coles, Stan Sakai, and Russ Wooten. And the Eisner Award goes to Stan Sakai. Our next category is Best Publication Design. Now this is interesting. Most of the publications that were nominated were designed by the creators of the work. That's some talent right there. And the nominees for Best Publication Design are Chasin' the Bird, Charlie Parker in California, designed by David Chisholm and Tyler Boss. Debury at 50, The Complete Digital Doonesbury, designed by George Crescio and Susan McCaslin. J&K, designed by John Pham. The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Cartoonist, designed by Adrian Tomine and Tracy Huron. And Original Art, the Dan Klaus Studio Edition, designed by Daniel Klaus. And the award goes to The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Cartoonist. Congrats. Our next award is for Best Digital Comic. This category is for works that appear online in comic book format. No, sort of this is the technological version of jumbo shrimp. It's two things that you wouldn't think go together. Digital, comic. But nowadays they do. The nominees for Best Digital Comic are Friday by Ed Brubaker and Marcos Martin. Genius Animals by Vali Chandrasekaran and Junpierre Shiozawa. Gentle Mind by Juan Diaz Canales, Teresa Valero, and Antonio Lapone. Promethe 1313 by Andy Diggle and Sean Martinbrough. Olive by Vero Cazot and Lucy Mazel. And Soon by Thomas Cadane and Benjamin Adam. And the award goes to Friday. Now our next category is Best Webcomic. This is for long-form comics that are created specifically for viewing online and are often serialized, but a variety of formats are eligible. Our nominees are BFF by Clément Sifabre, Joseph Safiaddine, and Thomas Cadane. Crisis Zone by Simon Hanselman. DPS Only by Vel. Isle of Elsie by Alec Longstreth. The Kiss Bet by Ingrid Ochoa. And The Middle Age by Steve Conley. And the Eisner Award goes to Crisis Zone. Here's to you. Okay, coming up next are our categories for kids and teens and humor and adaptations. Now, the number of submissions in the kids categories continued to increase last year, which is, I think, an indication of the popularity of graphic novels among kids, parents, and librarians. Now, our first award is for Best Publication for Early Readers. These are books aimed at children up to age 8. Our nominees are Bear by Ben Queen and Joe Todd Stanton. Cat Kid Comic Club by Dave Pilkey. Donut Feed the Squirrels by Mika Song. Cody by Jared Cullum. Lift by Min Lei and Dan Santat. And Our Little Kitchen by Jillian Tamaki. And the award goes to Our Little Kitchen. Our next award is for Best Publication for Kids, which what we call books suitable for children from ages 9 to 12. The nominees are Doodleville by Chad Sell, Go with the Flow by Lily Williams and Karen Schneeman, Mr. Invincible, Local Hero by Pascal Jousselin, Snapdragon by Kat Lay, Superman Smashes the Klan by Jean Luen Yang and Guri Hero, and Twins by Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright. The Eisner Award goes to Superman Smashes the Klan. Okay, next up, Publication for Teens. Now, these are books that are aimed specifically at readers from age 13 to 17. And the nominees are Check Please, Book 2, Sticks and Scones by Ngozi Ukazu. Displacement by Kiku Hughes. Dragon Hoops by Jean Luen Yang. Fights, One Boy's Triumph Over Violence by Joel Christian Gill. A Map to the Sun by Sloan Leong. And When Stars Are Scattered by Victoria Jameson and Omar Mohammed. And the award goes to Dragon Hoops. Jean Yang needs to buy some more shelves. Our next category is Best Humor Publication. Nominees are The Complete Fante Bukowski by Noah Van Siver, Department of Mind-Blowing Theories by Tom Gauld, Fangs by Sarah Anderson, Wendy, Master of Art by Walter Scott, Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen by Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber, and What If We Were by Axel Lenoir. The award goes to Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. Our next category is Best Adaptation. Now, adaptations can include comics works that adapt novels, TV shows, or movies, plays, any other work that appeared in another medium. And the nominees this year range from adapting government documents to anthropology, to classic science fiction novels, to a 1946 radio show. So we got some range happening here. The nominees for Best Adaptation from Another Medium are Constitution Illustrated by R. Sikorak, Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler, adapted by Damian Duffy and John Jennings. Sapiens, A Graphic History, The Birth of Humankind, adapted by Yuval Noah Harari, David Vandermeulen, and Daniel Kazanov. Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, adapted by Ryan North and Albert Montes. And Superman Smashes the Klan, adapted by Jean Luen Yang and Gurihiro. And the award goes to Superman Smashes the Klan. Seriously, Gene, people are going to think you just bought these to decorate your place. Now we're moving on to the categories for archival works, journalism, comics-related books, and scholarly works. The things you have to read. Actually, this is funny because this is words about pictures. I like that. First up, Best Archival Collection or Project, Comic Strips. And the nominees are The Flapper Queens, Women Cartoonists of the Jazz Age. Gross Exaggerations, the Meshuggah comic strips of Milt Gross. Crazy and Ignatz, 1919 to 1921, by George Harriman. Little Debbie and the Second Coming of Elmo, daily comic strips by Cecil Jensen. And Pogo, the Complete Syndicated Comic Strips, Volume 7, Pockets Full of Pie, by Walt Kelly. And the award goes to The Flapper Queens, Women Cartoonists of the Jazz Age. Next category is Best Archival Collection or Project, Comic Books. And the nominees are Art Young's Inferno by Art Young. Atlas at War, edited by Michael J. Vasallo. The Complete Hate by Peter Bagg. Corto Maltese, The Ballad of the Salty Sea by Hugo Pratt. Little Lulu, The Fuzzy Thingus Poopy by John Stanley. And Man and Superman and Other Stories by Harvey Kurtzman. And the award goes to The Complete Hate. Next we have Best Comics-Related Periodical / Journalism. The nominees are Alter Ego, edited by Roy Thomas. Back Issue, edited by Michael Urey. The Comics Blog, by Michael Kavna and David Betancourt. The Comics Journal, edited by R.J. Casey, Christy Valenti, and Gary Groth. Panel X Panel Magazine, edited by Hassan Otzman Elhau, and also, lastly, Women Write About Comics, edited by Nola Pfau and Wendy Brown. And the award goes to Women Write About Comics. Our next category is Best Comics-Related Book. Now, this is for non-fiction books about all aspects of comics that are geared toward the general reader or fan. And the nominees are American Daredevil, Comics, Communism, and the Battles of Lev Gleason by Brett Dakin. Ditko Shrugged, The Uncompromising Life of the Artist Behind Spider-Man and the Rise of Marvel Comics by David Curry. Drawing Fire, The Editorial Cartoons of Bill Malden, edited by Todd DiPastino. The History of EC Comics by Grant Geisman. Invisible Men, The Trailblazing Black Artists of Comic Books by Ken Quattro. And Masters of British Comic Art by David Roach. And the Eisner goes to Invisible Men, The Trailblazing Black Artists of Comic Books. Now, we have the Eisner Award for Best Academic or Scholarly Work. Does that mean ones with big words in them? The nominees are Comic Art in Museums, edited by Kim A. Munson. Comic Studies, a Guidebook, edited by Charles Hatfield and Bart Beatty. The Content of Our Caricature, African American Comic Art and Political Belonging by Rebecca Wanzo. Webcomics by Sean Kleefeld. And Who Understands Comics? Questioning the Universality of Visual Language Comprehension by Neil Cohn. And the Eisner goes to The Content of Our Caricature, African American Comic Art and Political Belonging. All right, now we're getting to our final categories for this year's Eisner Awards. And they're for the Best New, Limited, and Continuing Comic Book Series, and for the Best Reality-Based Works and Graphic Albums of the years. And the judges have also added a new category this year, Best Graphic Memoir. I love new stuff. First category is Best New Series. In order to qualify, at least 2 issues of the comic book series must have been published in the year 2020. Nominees are Black Widow by Kelly Thompson and Elena Casagrande, Crossover by Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw, The Department of Truth by James Tynion IV and Martin Simmons, Philadelphia by Rodney Barnes and Jason Sean Alexander, and We Only Find Them When They're Dead by Al Ewing and Simone DeMeo. And the Eisner Award for Best New Series goes to Black Widow. Next up, Best Limited Series. In order to qualify, at least half of the issues of this series had been published in 2020. The nominees are Barbalian Red Planet by Jeff Lemire, Tate Brombal, and Gabriel Hernandez Walta. Decorum by Jonathan Hickman and Mike Huddleston. Far Sector by N.K. Jemisin and Jamal Campbell. Strange Adventures by Tom King, Mitch Gerrits, and Evan Doc Shaner. Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen by Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber. And We Live by Inaki Miranda and Roy Miranda. The Eisner Award goes to Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen. Next award is for Best Continuing Series. Here are our nominees. Bitter Root by David F. Walker, Chuck Brown, and Sanford Green. Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto. The Department of Truth by James Tynion IV and Martin Simmons. Gideon Falls by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. Stillwater by Chip Zdarsky and Ramon K. Perez. And Usagi Yojimbo by Stan Sakai. And the award goes to Usagi Yojimbo. Now, here are the nominees for Best Reality-Based Work. I love that. Reality-based comics. The nominees are Big Black, Stand at Attica by Frank Big Black Smith, Jared Reinmuth, and Amaziani. Dragon Hoops by Jean Luen Yang. Invisible Differences, a story of Asperger's, adulting, and living a life in full color by Mademoiselle Caroline and Julie Dachez. Kent State, 4 Dead in Ohio by Durf Backdurf. Paying the Land by Joe Sacco. And Year of the Rabbit by Tian Viesna. The Eisner goes to Kent State, 4 Dead in Ohio. Next up is Best Graphic Memoir. Now, this used to be part of the reality-based category, but this year's judges found so many outstanding memoirs were published that really they deserved a separate category, a category all their own. Our nominees for Best Graphic Memoir are Banned Book Club by Kim Hyun-suk, Ryan Estrada, and Kyo Hyung-ju. Dancing After 10 by Vivian Chong and Georgia Weber. Ginseng Roots by Craig Thompson. I Don't Know How to Give Birth by Ayami Kazama. The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Cartoonist by Adrian Tomine. And When Stars Are Scattered by Victoria Jameson and Omar Mohammed. The award goes to The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Cartoonist. All right, next up is Best Graphic Album Reprint. These are books that collect material that was originally published within the last 20 years. First nominee is Black Hammer Library Edition by Jeff Lemire, Dean Ormston, Emmy Lennox, and Rich Tomaso. Criminal Deluxe Edition by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. 8 Lane Runaways by Henry McCausland. Fante Bukowski, The Complete Works by Noah Van Sciver. Hero Bear and the Kid, The Heritage by Mike Kunkel. And Seeds and Stems by Simon Hanselman. The Eisner Award goes to Seeds and Stems. Congrats. And now, our last category is Best Graphic Album, New. The nominees are The Book Tour by Andy Watson, Dragman by Stephen Appleby, Flake by Matthew Dooley, Labyrinth by Ben Argon, Paul at Home by Michelle Robigliati, and Pulp by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. The Eisner Award goes to Pulp. Congratulations. Our next award is one that was near and dear to Will Eisner's heart. The Will Eisner Spirit of Comics Retailer Award. Will approached Comic-Con about initiating the award back in 1993 because he wanted to acknowledge the important role that comic shops play in the industry, providing that vital link between creators and readers, and creating the sense of community that is part of all of our love of comics. Now, the Spirit of Comics Retailer Award is given out to retailers who have done an outstanding job of supporting the comic art medium, both in the industry at large and in their local community. Fans from around the world have the opportunity to nominate their favorite stores using a form on the Comic-Con website. Remember that for next year. Now, a committee will then consider the submissions and choose 5 finalists like they did this year, from which they will then select the winner. This year's committee consisted of comic book writer Henry Barajas, comics artist Ryan Benjamin, Kyle Creamer of Diamond Comic Distributors, Past Spirit recipients Sergio Lopez of Nostromo Comics in Seville, Spain, Tata Rambo and Helm Greycastle from Top Cow Productions, as well as noted comics creator Jeff Smith. And, as in past years, the facilitator for the judging was Joe Ferrara, owner of Atlantis Fantasy World in Santa Cruz, California. And the coordinator for the Retailer Award is Comic-Con's treasurer, Lee Oath. All right, now let's see what the committee came up with. The 2021 finalists for the Spirit Award are The Comic Bug in Manhattan Beach, California, Kingpin Books in Lisbon, Portugal, The Laughing Ogre in Columbus, Ohio, Rogue City Comics in Medford, Oregon, and Zeppelin Comics in Benicia, California. Got to go to those places. All right, the 2021 recipient of the Spirit of Comics Retailer Award is The Laughing Ogre in Columbus, Ohio, owned by Chris Lloyd. Congratulations, Chris, and thank you for contributing to the community of comics. Right now, I would like to introduce Ruth Clampett. Ruth is the daughter of the great animator Bob Clampett, and she will be joining us to present this year's Bob Clampett Humanitarian Award.
I'm Ruth Clampett, and I'm so proud to present this year's Bob Clampett Humanitarian Award. Our family is grateful to Comic-Con for honoring our father in such a meaningful way. This year's recipients are so deserving for the amazing effort they put in to support a very important cause. During these very trying times, famed comic artist and creator Mike Mignola and his wife Christine had the idea to auction off many of his original drawings to raise money for the World Central Kitchen. It was started by famed chef Jose Andre, who established the Central World Kitchen in 2010. They have served over 50 million fresh meals for people who are affected by natural disaster and other crises around the world. Mike's sketches were sold at online auctions and raised over $420,000. In addition, Dark Horse has published a collection of the sketches, Mike Mignola, The Quarantine Sketchbook, which is expected to increase the overall charity contribution to $500,000. What an extraordinary accomplishment. So it's with much joy and appreciation that I present the Bob Clampett Humanitarian Award to Mike and Christine Mignola. What a wonderful and inspiring contribution you have made to such an important charity, helping so many people in need.
Thank you, everybody. This is so great. Very honored to have this. This one actually belongs entirely to this lady, 98% at least to this lady. I just did some funny drawings so I wouldn't go crazy at the beginning of the whole lockdown pandemic thing. And it was Christine who actually turned that into something.
Thank you. Thank you for this award. It's really touched me. And thank you to the World Central Kitchen and Jose Andres, who's taken this money and put it to great use by feeding people and helping restaurants. And
thank you, Dark Horse, for and everyone at Dark Horse, my editor, Katie O'Brien, and everyone else there who took these drawings and put them together. So not only did we do the auction, or Christine did the auction, but Dark Horse published the book and agreed to donate the proceeds from the book. So thank you to Dark Horse, thank you to the Clampett family, to the Eisner people, whoever they are.
And thank you to the fans who supported us on this.
Shelled out a lot of dough.
Shelled out a lot of money.
For a very good cause.
Yes, so. Thank you all, and be kind.
Good night.
And now we have reached the point in the Eisner Awards where Comic-Con honors individuals who over the course of their lives have made significant contributions to the comics mediums by inducting them into the Hall of Fame. And in order, To announce our new inductees, let's bring out the great Sergio Aragonés, a Hall of Famer himself, to announce this year's new inductees. Sergio?
Hola, otra vez aquí, once again here, and it's always an honor for me to be chosen to introduce the inductees for the Eisner Awards Hall of Fame. In the past, the Eisner judges would pick two people to be automatic choices for the Hall of Fame. This year, they have chosen 6 automatic inductees. The first 2 choices are in a new category, comic pioneers. These inductees are Thomas Nast and Rudolph Toffler. Thomas Nast is often considered to be the father of the American cartoon. He started out as an illustrator for Harper's Weekly in 1860. His cartoons advocated the abolition of slavery, opposed racial segregation, and deplored the violence of the Ku Klux Klan. In the 1870s, he used his cartoons to crusade against New York City's political boss, William Tweed. He popularized the elephant to symbolize the Republican Party and the donkey as the symbol for the Democratic Party. And he created a modern image of Santa Claus. Swiss artist Rudolf Toffler is known for his picture stories that are considered the predecessors to modern comics. These works were distinctively different from a painting, a political cartoon, or an illustrated novel. The images follow clear narrative sequences over a course of many pages, rather than just a series of unrelated events. His works became very popular through Europe in the 1830s and the 1840s. His comic story, The Adventures of Mr. Obadiah Oldbuck, was published in the United States in 1842 as a supplement to the New Yorker newspaper, and it is considered by many to have been the first comic book. The judges also chose 2 deceased creators to be inducted on the Hall of Fame, Alberto Breccia and Stan Goldberg, 2 cartoonists that I had the great honor to meet personally. Alberto Breccia was an Argentinian artist who worked from the 1840s through the 80s with writer Hector Germán Osterheld. They created the influential comic strip Mort Cinder, produced from 1962 to 1964. He was a member of the Venice group that Hugo Pratt, another European artist, created. One of Brescia's last work was a series called Paramos, a critique of life on the dictatorship in Argentina. This work led to him receiving an award from Amnesty International in 1989. Stan Goldberg started his career in 1949 at the age of 16 as a staff artist for Timely Comics, where he became head of the color department. Stan created the color designs for many of Marvel's Silver Age characters, including Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the Hulk. He also drew such Marvel titles as Millie the Model and Patsy Walker. After leaving Marvel, he began a 40-year career at Archie Comics, with his work appearing in such titles as Archie and Me, Betty and Me, Live with Archie, Archie's Pal and Gals, Laugh, Pep, and Sabrina, the Teenager Witch. From 1975 to 1980, Stan drew the Archie Sunday newspaper strip. Accepting the award for Stan is his son, Steve Goldberg.
Hi, I'm Steve Goldberg, son of the late Stan Goldberg, and on behalf of my mom, Pauline, and my brother, Bennett, we just want to share our gratitude for this very prestigious award bestowed upon my dad. My father truly loved what he did. Drawing pictures put a smile not only on his face, but also on the faces of kids all over the world. My dad had a storied career that included stints at Timely, Marvel, DC, and Archie Comics, among others. Beginning as a colorist in the late 1940s, he created many of the color schemes for what would become Marvel's major characters. From there, he found his true niche and love, which were the humorous teenage titles so many of us grew up on, including Millie the Model. In the early 1970s, my dad began his love affair with the gang from Riverdale and spent the next 40 years drawing Archie and all his pals. I know if my dad were alive today, he would absolutely be honored to be receiving this prestigious award. And in his memory, I want to offer my gratitude and say thank you.
Finally, the judges chose 2 living persons to be automatically inducted into the Hall of Fame. They are Françoise Moulin and Lily Renee Phillips. Francois Mouly founded Raw Books and Graphics in 1978. With her husband, Art Spiegelman, she launched Raw Magazine in 1980, which is perhaps best known for serializing Spiegelman Award-winning Mouse. The magazine also published work by Linda Barry, Charles Burns, Lorenzo Mattotti, Gary Panther, Jules Swart, Jacques Tardy, and Chris Ware, to name but a few. When Françoise became art director of The New Yorker in 1993, she brought a large number of cartoonists and artists to the magazine interiors and covers. In 2008, she launched Toon Books, an imprint devoted to books for young readers done by cartoonists.
I want to thank you. Thank you for inducting me in the Hall of Fame. I hear that I'm a living legend. I know I'm alive, or at least I think so, but legend, I'm not exactly sure what I'm being known for or recognized for. In a field where every obscure comic book, there's someone somewhere who knows who colored or lettered it as well as penciled it. Maybe I'm being honored for coloring Marvel Comics 40 years ago. Or maybe it was a work around that time in 1980 till the early 90s, where I was publishing and co-editing Raw magazine and insisting that comics were not just for kids, or it was a work that I did 20 years later when I became a mother. And then I was insisting that comics should not just be for museums and bookstores and libraries, but should also be for kids. Or it's for the works that I did at New Yorker, where I brought in so many great artists that did narrative storytelling images. But no matter what, the thing that we're all appreciating today is the fact that comics is an exciting medium that can be done by one person and can be transformed by every cartoonist that gets into it. And now that there are so many more women and so many more artists of color in the field, I am very excited to see what not just the past, but what the future will bring. So thank you again.
Lily Renee Phillips was the star artist for comic publisher Fiction House, where she worked from 1943 until 1948. She drew such strips as Werewolf Hunter, Jane Martin, Señorita Rio, and The Lost Word. She was known for striking covers and good girl art. She later drew Abbott and Costello comics with her husband at the time, Eric Peters. And she drew Borden's Elsie the Cow comics. She was a guest at Comic-Con in 2007, and the best, she turned 100 in May. And his son, Rick Phillips, is accepting the award, as you can see in the video.
On behalf of my mother, Lily Renee Phillips, and my entire family, I'd like to say how honored and humbled she is for being inducted into the Hall of Fame. When my mother first came to this country during World War II, she really knew nothing about the comics. She applied for a job at Fiction House at the urging of her mother, who had seen an ad in the newspaper. She was hired at Fiction House along with 2 other women artists, and through comics, she found a way to fight back against Hitler and the Nazis. She did this through characters such as Señorita Rio and strips like Werewolf Hunter. She is happy that her work helped pave the way for other women artists in the industry, as well as female characters who could stand on their own and fight back. She'd like to thank Trina Robbins, who discovered her in 2006 and made the connection to the comic community. She last visited Comic-Con in 2014, where she had the pleasure of meeting Sergio Aragonés. She'd also like to thank Adrienne Grubin for telling her story through the film Lily, which premiered at Comic-Con in 2018. She truly appreciated all the notes and drawings that she received from other members of the comic community in celebration of her 100th birthday. Thank you again for this award and honor.
Do you want to say anything to your fans?
I'm so happy to have you all here. It's a pleasure to see all your lovely faces.
The judges also nominated 16 people for the Hall of Fame, who were voted by the professionals in the comic industry. The nominees for the Hall of Fame are Ruth Atkinson, Dave Cockrum, Kevin Eastman, Neil Gaiman, Max Gaines, Bill Gaines' father, Justin Green, Moto Hagio, Don Heck, Klaus Johnson, Jeffrey Catherine Jones, Hank Ketchum, Scott McCloud, Grant Morrison, Alex Nino, P. Gray Russell, and Gaspar Saladino. The voters selected 4 people to be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year. The first inductee is Ruth Atkinson. Ruth Atkinson was a Golden Age artist who penciled and inked many features at Fiction House, where she later became the art director. As a freelancer in the 1940s, she co-created the first issues of Millie the Model and Patsy Walker for Timely. And in the 1950s, she drew some of the first romance comics. She passed away in 1997. I will accept the award on her behalf. The second inductee is Dave Cockrum. Accepting the award on his behalf is his widow, Patty Cockrum.
I am told my husband, Dave Cockrum, has received the Eisner Award for this year. On behalf of him, I accept it. I'm just sorry he's not here to accept it himself. He never really valued his own artwork. He told me once he saw so many things in his head that he couldn't put on paper. One only can imagine what it would be like if he could have put it on paper. And I understand it completely. I would like to thank the Eisner people and everybody out there who voted for him to have this award, even though it's 15 years after he died. Thank you so much.
The third inductee is Neil Gaiman.
This is absolutely thrilling. I really don't know what to say. I came here to San Diego to my first Comic-Con in 1989 in the summer, and I thought it was the biggest convention that there ever was or ever could be. There were 15,000 people there, and the idea that one day I would be in the Hall of Fame with people like Jack Kirby, with people like Will Eisner, with people like Karl Barks, was unthinkable. And that I am is incredibly moving. It's an honor. I want to thank absolutely everybody who voted for me. And I am profoundly grateful. I hope this doesn't mean that I'm expected to stop making things, because I still want to keep making comics. I still want to keep making art. I still want to keep making stories. But thank you. Thank you, everybody.
And the fourth inductee is Scott McCloud.
Hiya. Thank you so much for this honor. I was grateful just to be included with so many nominees that have inspired me. So I just want to offer my thanks to all of the folks in the comics industry and community who've had my back over the years, the thoughtful, supportive editors that I've worked with for almost 4 decades. Thanks to Judith Hansen, without whom I would have had just a fraction of this success, and to Ivy and my girls, without whom I would be a pale, lonely shut-in somewhere in upstate New York, writing angry YouTube comments and living on nothing but TV dinners and circus peanuts. Like the guy these awards are named after, I'm mostly just trying to get back to most promising newcomer someday. But back here in the real world, I guess I can be who I really am, at least for a moment. A grateful, aging nerd that you've made very happy. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of that 2021 inductees on the Will Eisner Hall of Fame. I hope to see you all in person next year at Comic-Con. Thank you. Thank you. See you, friends.
Thank you, Sergio. Every time I see him, I wish Why can't I grow a mustache like that? And also congratulations to all of this year's Hall of Fame inductees, and thank you for your work. All of tonight's winners will be sent their cool Eisner trophies with the spinning globes to display on their shelves. And when you get that award, also take with it all of our thanks and appreciation for the work you've done and continue to do. Thank you guys for watching and for reading. Right now, let me bring back Jackie Estrada to close out the evening's festivities.
Congratulations to all the winners. And as Phil mentioned, everyone will get a trophy. We'll get those sent off to you. These are made by Gentle Giant Studios. Thank you, Phil, for being such a great host. And thank you so much to Sergio Aragonés and to Ruth Clampett for giving us the opportunity to highlight these wonderful people. Thanks also to Daniel Tiedemann and to Beth Accomando for putting together this ceremony. And special thanks, I want to give a shout out to Comic-Con's archivist, Ron McPhee. Ron was my assistant and helped with all of the judging materials, and I couldn't have done it without him. We really appreciate ComiXology stepping up this year to be the sponsor for the Eisner Awards and giving readers access to thousands of comics and graphic novels. And of course, we have to thank Comic-Con International Board of Directors and the staff for being so supportive of the Eisner Awards this year with all the challenges of the whole COVID pandemic. Now, Will Eisner believed that comics are an unlimited medium and that they're barely tapped, the things that you can do with comics. And certainly this year's winners bear out that you can tackle a wide variety of subject matters. For instance, books on menopause, Superman fighting the Klan, high school basketball, a samurai rabbit, making a community meal, online dating, a green-skinned witch and her pals, an unknown planet hurtling toward Earth, and a lonely cartoonist who, in the pages of a graphic novel, actually goes to Comic-Con a couple of times and even attends the Eisner Awards. So how meta is that? Thank you, everybody, for attending this year's virtual Eisner Awards. I'm looking forward to next year and getting to see everybody in person, and it will be great to be able to hand the trophies directly to people who and let them give their acceptance speeches there live. And of course, we encourage you to post an acceptance on social media now that the world knows that you have won an Eisner Award. Again, as Phil would say, congrats.